Hey guys, it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these videos, and they've been quite busy weeks. They've they've had their highs and their lows, and unfortunately mainly lows. And I kind of I ended on the section of the GIGO principle, the garbage in, garbage out principle. And some of you may know that as more of a stinking thinking principle. That's another way of putting it. So I wanted to finish the four different things that I intended to bring to you guys and pull attention towards those things at this time. So I'd like to go over the GIGO principle a little bit. So garbage in, garbage out. That is an extremely relevant principle for pretty much anything. If we put garbage in our bodies, we're, in a physical sense, if we put garbage in our bodies, like we eat junk food, a lot of chips, a lot of sodas, a lot of sweets, if we do all that stuff, we're probably going to be unhealthy. We're going to be overweight. Our joints aren't going to be functioning properly. We're going to have a lot of pain there. We're going to have organ failure, and eventually that can unfortunately lead to an untimely death. And that can be applied to the spiritual sense as well. So if we're looking at the spiritual idea behind GIGO, if we're dumping garbage into our body spiritually, if we're only listening to sad songs, if we're only watching sad movies, we're only reading sad books, we're hanging around people that don't build us up but they tear us down instead, then what we fill our lives with is gonna come out. And if we fill it with something negative, then we're gonna get negative out. So back to the physical sense, if we fill our bodies with that junk food, those chips, those drinks, and those sweets, all those artificial things, we're not going to be healthy. But we can fill our lives with things that are healthy, like vegetables, fruits. We can drink water. We can do these things, and likewise, that applies to your spiritual life. What are you filling your life with? Are you filling it with Jesus, or are you filling it with what the world says? Because I'm telling you guys, if you're not filling it with Jesus, you are filling it with what the world says, and that is not good. That will end up tearing you down. What this world has to offer does not last. What this world gives us, it crumbles like glass. It fades like the flowers and the grass that just gets cut and thrown into the fire. It doesn't last for us. And one song along the lines of things that you don't want to solely fill your life with that end up making you depressed, but one song that I do enjoy listening to, it does have a little bit more of an upbeat rhythm to it. It's called My Life by Imagine Dragons. And one of the lyrics says, "Is this really my life?" And that is that's kind of the place where I am right now. I have a hard time believing that, wow, this is my life currently, where I am right now. I'm I'm here, and I've got these disabilities, and I don't feel like I should be this way. I was, I was doing really well in school and sports. I had it, and all that changed for me, in a matter of a couple of hours. And I have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that this is my life now. It's where I am. And I don't really want to come to terms with that. I don't really want to face that and be like, all right, this is my life and I'm gonna accept that. I instead of wanting to accept that, I'm always wanting to do something that will change me. I'm always wanting to try and scrape back to the guy that I was. And partly I don't think that is bad. Wanting to better your physical body so you can physically do the things that you can be doing, you should be doing. But I think it is wrong for us to have that stinking thinking, that mentality of, I am here, but I should be here. We need to, instead of placing that expectation of I should be here on ourselves, we should place the thought in our lives that says any progress that I get that is positive is a gift. That is a gift from God to me. I'm experiencing that gift. And my friends, let me tell you, you really need to cut that stuff out of your life that is harmful, that is going to pull you down. And a sad thing here and there is not gonna ruin your life, is not gonna make you completely depressed. And I've said before, the problem that we have is staying in that spot. We are not meant to stay in that spot. And if those sad things are gonna pull you down into that place where you just wanna cuddle up and, in the fetal position on your bed and cry for hours and hours at a time and just waste your life away, that's something we should not be around. If those sad things are gonna pull your life and pull your thinking into that, oh, woe is me mentality, that garbage in, it's not gonna help you. And we need to cut that out of our lives. And that is something that I struggle with a lot. I really struggle with, actually, I struggle with all of the things I've talked about. I struggle with, community. I struggle with words of affirmation, and I struggle with this last point of garbage in, garbage out. I haven't really changed my thinking to say, you know what, I recognize where I am, but I don't want to stay there. Jesus, I need you to help me get out of the pit. And that is That is so important. I the first one, the morning part, I'm pretty good at realizing that, oh wow, this sucks. I'm in this spot, and it's a lot worse than where I used to be. I'm pretty good at recognizing that, but I'm not so good at the second part of that, which is, now that I've recognized that, I need to give that to Jesus, and then even further, I need to move on, because the the enemy, he wants us to be so overwhelmed that we don't move on. He wants us to feel locked in fear. We don't want to move on from that. And that's what we need to do. We need to move on. We need to realize that, you know what, my life, that song I like listening to, I even though I have a hard time believing that this is my life, it's not gonna change. This is my life. This is not gonna be someone else's life. And believing in Jesus is phenomenal. It is great. I heard this story a while ago about a guy in a flood, and he had heard from the Lord that he was going to be rescued and going to be saved. And loads of people came to rescue this guy. There were boats. There was even a helicopter at one point, and the guy was like, you know what? God said He's gonna save me, so I trust in the Lord, and I'm just gonna wait here, and then God's gonna save me. And then eventually, at the end of the story, the man dies. The man is killed in the flood, and the man goes up before God, and he's like, God, I thought you said you were gonna save me. You were gonna rescue me out of this trouble. And God's like, I tried. I sent all these things your way, but you rejected all of them. And that's what we need to realize. If you're facing an addiction, if you're stuck in a rut, like I am stuck in the rut of depression and loneliness and sorrow, and I'm getting better with self-hatred, but there are times when I really don't like myself. I can't stand the guy that I am. But I am getting better with that. And we need to realize that these things, they may not be supernatural, but God is still sending them to try and rescue us. God may not produce a miracle with His supernatural power. We may not see a bolt of lightning, fall from the sky and kaboom, and it lands on us and we're miraculously healed. It may be the slow drip of the faucet. It may be going to physical therapy every day, going to the gym every day. It may be working hard with that support group so that you can rid yourself of that addiction. It takes work, and we can't reject things just because they're not packaged up the way we expected them to be packaged up. God works in supernatural ways that we don't understand. So when those when those things come into our lives that we don't expect them to show up that way, we shouldn't run to reject them. And that also plays with the GIGO principle. When we get those bad thoughts, the stinking thinking, when we get those we do need to reject, because those are not beneficial to us. But the way that God will send rescue to us, we need to not reject that. We need to say, you know what, God, this isn't what I expected, but I'm gonna listen to you.